In the past few weeks, I've been busy working on our skill tree and level up systems for our indie game Wisplight. And in this devlog, we'll talk about my design decisions and thought process in making this system, and how this skill tree and level system works in our reverse RPG game where we play as the monsters instead of the usual RPG hero. So sit back, relax, and let's begin. Let's first talk about how we level up in our game. So basically, we play as a wisp who can transform into different monster types. And these monsters will have their very own unique skills and abilities. These skills and abilities can be upgraded using two skill resources that we will find in the game world. So what are these two resources? First, we have the wisp. These wisps are scattered around the island. Some of them roaming around the forest, some are captured by humans, placed inside an aether vessel, and some are even embedded in mages' staves, amplifying their magic. And our goal is to find these wisps and have them merge with us, adding an important resource to upgrade our monster's skills. The wisps are a limited resource, placed on specific areas of the island. This will serve as milestones to motivate the player to explore the island and conquer challenges that will reward them with wisps, in turn upgrading their skill tree, making them more resilient and powerful, giving them an edge in defeating more powerful enemies later on in the game. Next are the catalysts. Catalysts are required for us to bind the wisp captured to our monster's skills and abilities. And you can find them for every enemy you eliminate. Each enemy will have different catalyst values. The more they are attuned to essence, the more catalyst they will drop once you eliminate them. For example, the lowly torchbearer will give us 300 catalyst, while the acolyte that is more attuned to essence gives us 1000. Design-wise, the catalysts are there so that the player will have a reason to defeat the enemies in the game. We don't want the players to just run by the enemies or eliminate enemies with no rewards at all. The catalyst will also be the main resource for us to upgrade our skill tree, since every skill in our skill tree will require a catalyst and a wisp for us to activate it. For example, this is what our skill tree looks like. As of the moment, the icons are not yet the final version. Nari is still working on some of the icons, but basically it will feel and look like this. Here, we have a skill that will let us absorb death essence from corpses, replenishing our essence reserves. As you can see, it requires 1 wisp and 1000 catalysts to activate the skill. Once activated, the resource will be spent and the skill can be used by the skeleton. So what happens if you want to reallocate your skills? Can skills be reallocated? Yes, it can. You just simply deselect it, and the wisp that's assigned to that skill will be sent back to your available wisp reserves. But as you can see, the catalyst did not get reclaimed. This is another design decision that I made to avoid the player from instantly changing the skills anytime with no consequence, making decision-making part of the experience. We want to give the players the opportunity to think. We want to give them the opportunity to plan their skill trees. If the player wants to change or reallocate skills, they can do it with enough catalysts. This will also make the catalyst an important resource that you don't want to lose, which will lead us to our next design decision. Can we lose these skill resources? Yes, you can lose these resources. One reason to lose them is when the enemies capture you. When you're captured and placed in an aether vessel, you will lose half of your catalysts. Also, there's a chance that you'll be spending one of your wisps so that you can use a skill called Essence Overflow that sacrifices a wisp to free you from the aether vessel you're in. This design choice is fundamental to bring risk and tension when encountering enemies on the island, especially when you have a lot of catalyst with you gathered from defeating previous enemies. So if this is the case, why not just spend the resources before encountering a group of enemies? This way, you'll not have the risk of losing them, right? I did think about this, and this will lead us to the next design decision. Where can we allocate skills? You can only allocate or reallocate skills in your settlements, specifically Cassandra, or any other NPCs that can modify your Wisp. You just need to approach them and you will have an option in your skill tree menu to apply the changes to your monster skills. Therefore, you cannot allocate skills on your skill tree anywhere on the island except for the settlements. This design decision is crucial so that the tension when carrying a large amount of catalyst with you is high, and arriving in settlements will feel like a huge relief, making settlements truly a safe place for the player. Now that we have the fundamentals covered, let's talk about the skill tree itself. As you can see, our skill tree is not just branching out like most skill trees we see, but there are parts where they unmerge and merge. This will give the players an option to take shortcuts and allocate their resources accordingly. For example, let's say we have 3 available Wisp only and a few catalysts, and we want to get this quick dash skill that will do a quick attack after dashing forward. After selecting the dodge skill node, we are faced with 3 choices. The first choice is a skill node that will increase our fortitude, the second one is a skill node that will increase our stability, and the third options in the middle are skill nodes that will upgrade our stability penalty when dodging. Basically, since we only have 3 wisps, we can't really choose the middle part, since the available wisps won't have us reach the quick dash skill node. This leaves us with the 2 options of choosing whether we go for the fortitude node or the stability node. This design decision will give players an opportunity to think, decide, and prioritize, depending on the resources available, making the building of the skill tree part of the gameplay experience. Next, we need to talk about the types of skill nodes that we have. I think you've noticed already that there are skill nodes with different sizes, and some nodes are inside of a ritual design. What does this mean? What's the difference between these skill nodes? First, we have the knowledge skill nodes. These skill nodes do not require wisp or catalysts, but instead require knowledge that you will get from progressing the game. This knowledge will be passed on to you from your NPCs. For example, one part of Cassandra's questline is you defeating the necromancer of the dungeon. This will give Cassandra the opportunity to read the books the necromancer have, giving her knowledge to conjure the dead. She will imbue you with this knowledge, unlocking the skill Aspect of Death, which unlocks several skill nodes from the skill tree that is related and tied to this skill node. These are basic skills that you will get once you acquire this knowledge. For Aspect of Death, you will gain basic skills like conjuring skeletons, equipping weapons and shields, sprinting, guarding, attacking, and a special trait the skeleton will have, which is fire immunity. There will be several knowledge nodes in the skill tree, and you will discover them as you progress with the game's storyline. This design is done this way so that the player will progress as the story progresses. This will also act as a gate that will funnel the players to the direction we want the story to unfold. Wisplight is a semi-open world game where we can roam around freely at a certain specific area, but we are gated into moving to the next area by completing a key event first in that area, like maybe defeating a boss or capturing a settlement. These knowledge nodes are one of the rewards that you will get from these events or questlines. Next, we have these large skill nodes. They are active skill nodes, and they are skills that you need to press in-game to activate them, and they use resources like stability and essence every time they're used. For example, the dodge ability will be activated when you press the spacebar key. This will swiftly move the skeleton away from danger. This skill uses stability every time you dodge. Another is the Shield Bash skill, where we will activate by holding the right mouse button to guard and pressing the left mouse button to do the Shield Bash. This skill uses essence and stability every time you do a Shield Bash. Next, we have the passive skill nodes. These nodes are upgrade nodes for active skills, or upgrades for your stats like fortitude, stability, and essence. For example, here we have an upgrade node for dodging called Fluid Mobility, which decreases the stability used when dodging. Here's another one called Essence Propellant, which extends the distance traveled while dodging. There are also passive skill nodes that adds attack combos to your active skills, like this one. The Quick Slash upgrade, which does a follow-up strike after the skeleton does a quick dash attack, adding more hits to the enemy. Apart from skill nodes that upgrade active skills, we also have these skill nodes, the Fortitude, Essence, and Stability skill nodes that increase the 3 stats of the skeleton, making the skeleton more formidable. Passive skill nodes do not need to be activated, They're active all the time after activating it. That's for the type of skill nodes in the skill tree. Next, we'll talk about descriptions of these skills and why I want to integrate them in our game. Our game Wisplight has a very deep lore to it, and one of the many ways to translate this lore is by telling them in the skills description. The skills description will tell the player how essence affects the monsters. This will tell some lore on how Wisp utilize essence and manipulate them to their desired functionality. Having lore added to the game will create a connection to the player. It creates intrigue and mystery. It propels the player to move forward to unravel the story of the island and its inhabitants. As for the design decision for revealing these lore, I decided to only reveal the skill description if the skill node is available to activate. This way, this will create mystery on the skills that the player will unlock further down the line. At the same time, preventing the player from getting overwhelmed by too much information all at once. You want the player to learn the lore as the story goes one step at a time. You want to create a genuine connection to the player. Wisplight is not just a hack and slash game where we play as the monster and eliminate humans on the island. We want Wisplight to be an experience that tells a story that will unravel as the player progresses with the game. If you want to follow the development of Wisplight, feel free to subscribe to get updated. We are also live on Steam, and you can already wishlist Wisplight. I'd like to thank my patrons for supporting the development of the game. And if you want to support Wisplight, I'll leave a link to our Patreon page down below. All the funding will be used in acquiring assets for the game. You can also join us in Discord, engage with us, or take a look at some of our works in progress. Our community there is growing steadily. Some even volunteered and help out with the project. So yeah. On our next devlog, we'll talk about the changes I made to our combat system. Basically, these past few weeks, I changed a lot of the existing combat system to fit the new skill tree system, and I added a lot of features to it. So see you in the next devlog. Till next time.